Okay, I'm going to get started. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us today to go through some training for Graduate Open House. Thank you for all of your participation thus far and cooperation. We're really excited to have our, I'm just going to mute everyone. Sorry about that. Okay. We're really excited to have our first open house hosted on Unibuddy and really get into what this will look like as our first global event. So what we'll cover today is who is attending, what is Unibuddy if you're not already aware of Unibuddy, what will open house consist of, the different session styles that are available that you've already selected working with your college team, a quick event walkthrough of what an attendee can see, how enrollment management is here to help you from now up until the event and the day of resources, and then Amy will start with a platform training on how to use Unibuddy. So getting right into it. So this open house is a global event. Typically our traditional on-campus open house that takes place in the fall and spring is local to New England audiences, and we do have our regional campuses that host their own individual open houses on their campus. But this one is global because it is virtual. Invites were sent to prospective students, admitted students, and undergraduate day students. And as of right now, we have over 3,500 registered. We can expect that number to grow a bit because we do have invitations going out tomorrow, reminder emails, and some additional pieces of communication leading up until the event. So what is Unibuddy? You may have heard of it, maybe you haven't, but it's a university-centric engagement tool that we currently use for our ambassador teams for College of Professional Studies, for College of Engineering. We host live events on it, which are basically just another way to say webinars and virtual events. Our newly launched engagement portal is on Unibuddy, which you might hear more about in the coming weeks, and our open houses. So what will our open house look like on Unibuddy? Aside from these images, these are just placeholders. Our open house will have a welcome page, individual college pages, academic sessions, regional pages and sessions, international pages and sessions, elective sessions, and one-on-one support. So if you were part of open house last year when we kind of had to quickly pivot and turn to virtual, we had one landing page with basically just links to Teams or Zoom meetings. This is a much more engaging experience. We're bringing back a lot of our elements that are typically in person, like student services fair and our elective sessions. Those will all take place within Unibuddy. So really, let's start talking about how all of you will be participating. If you're hosting sessions or working on sessions, they're going to be in one of three formats. You have a presentation style where the host will be sharing their screen to present a PowerPoint or a document. You have a drop-in or Q&A with a video. So maybe you don't have a formal presentation, but you want to share your screen. You want your attendees to engage with you and see your face. That session would be for you. And then we have a chat room style, which has no options listed above, just straight chat. Most people today should be working on presentation style or drop-in style. If you are a chat room style, feel free to stay on, but we have a dedicated session for you on Thursday. So I'm going to quickly go into a screenshot of each of these options so you can see what they look like. And Amy will be diving into this a lot more in her demos, but I want to show you guys and talk a little bit about how we're hoping attendees work with us on this day. So this is a quick look at a presentation style session in Unibuddy. On the right-hand side, you can see that's a presentation being shared. Underneath that, we have a quick look at an agenda function. So say, for example, a lot of you signed up for a 9 a.m. session in the morning, and then maybe are coming back at noon to host an afternoon session. That will all be listed right here on the page for your attendees to see. We will also be building in that time period where maybe there's a break and no presentation, just to really set those expectations. So anytime an attendee clicks into your session, they know what's happening and what's happening when. The chat module in the middle is for attendees to talk to you, for you to talk to them, for maybe your support staff to chime in and help answer your questions while you're presenting. All of that will happen right in that middle module. Again, Amy's going to dig into all of this and how this works in her demo, but I wanted to give you a brief look. The drop-in style is very similar. That middle module is just for chat, and then on the right-hand side, you're just sharing your screen like you would in a Teams or a Zoom call. The agenda is the same. All of the functionality is the same. You're just not sharing a presentation. Okay. So now I'm going to give a quick look and talk through a video that shows the experience and what an attendee will be seeing day of. So an attendee will get a link if they registered for the event via email, and they will get access to a page that has a form. They'll fill out this form with their information, name, email, create a password. They're basically create an account just like you did. And then they will fill out some more information that will help us get to know them during the event. So they choose the country they live in, and then they select an area of study. So this is the actual program. So we have all of your programs uploaded into Unibuddy so they can select which one. They then get access to the event in general. This main event page has what events are live now right at the top. So those will be more comprehensive events like enrollment Q&A or international sessions. We break into all individual college pages, and we'll get more into that later on. The chat with staff will be full of EM support staff who is there to help like an event support role. And then the bottom Explore section will have breakout rooms into international sessions, regional sessions. Any of our elective sessions will be there at that Explore section. So we're going to head back up into colleges. An attendee can click on their college of interest and be directed to their landing page. Scrolling down on the landing page, the attendees will be able to see what sessions are happening at any given moment. And then scroll down to also see those same EM support staffs that are there to answer questions. Maybe they have a question about the agenda. In this block, you can see all of the upcoming events. So these are your specific academic sessions if you're hosting an academic session. Scrolling down, you can see more chat with staff functions, and then the opportunity for college to add blog posts, maybe program sheets, stuff like that. But we're going to scroll back up and look at these upcoming events. So an attendee can find the program they're interested in, click on it, and be entered right into the session. They can see all the chats that have previously happened, so they can catch up if maybe they had a similar question. They can click into the live stream to see your presentation, continue to have those conversations right in that middle module, and see maybe what upcoming sessions are happening later on in the day on the right-hand side. So I know that was kind of a quick breeze through what to expect, but I did want to make sure I gave everyone a quick look at that experience. So how is enrollment management here to help you? We're building all of this out for you. So you don't need to worry about setting up those sessions. You don't need to worry about where that will live on any given page. That will all be taken care of for you. We're also here to provide you with support staff. So maybe you're in a session and there's a lot of volume and you really need a little bit of help monitoring those chats and answering some of those questions. We do have enrollment counselors and ambassadors available day of to pop into your sessions. The enrollment counselors that would come into your sessions are typically assigned to your colleges and work on your colleges. So they will have background information and be able to help that way. Some additional day of resources that you'll get between now and open house. You can expect to get an access link to your specific session that you're hosting. So you can head right in there, and if that's all you want to worry about for the day, that's all you have to worry about. If you would like to click into the full experience and click around and see what else is being offered, you'll also be able to do that. But keep in mind that you can't really see what's happening in other sessions if you're designated to one session. So if you're hosting a specific academic session and you want to see what your neighbor is doing, because you're a host, you really can't have access. But if you would like to just ask us, we can add you to multiple sessions if that's something you need to do. You'll also be getting FAQ, Unibuddy best practices, and troubleshooting sheets leading up to the event. So if you just need to have some resources to be able to feel a little bit more confident for the day, we totally understand and we'll be putting that together. The best practices sheet is something that I would absolutely use as a resource. So we want to make sure we're setting those expectations right for our audience, right, for those attendees. That best practices sheet will have kind of sample copy that you can use and paste into your chat box to start the day to really set that tone for your attendees. So maybe something that says, "Hi, I'm Erin. I'm hosting today's session about events at Northeastern from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then I'll be back at 2 for another session. Feel free to leave your questions in this chat. Starting the day with a message like that in your chat window is really important. It sets the tone for your attendees to understand the expectations. So we'll have some example copy like that written up for you. You can also always reach out to your college's main open house point of contact. Maybe, like I said before, you're noticing a really high volume and you need some additional help. Please reach out to them and they will find us and we'll find you some people to help you with that. And also utilize Teams day of. Feel free to ask me questions, ask your college point of contact questions. We're here to help you. We want this day to be not only successful for our attendees, but for all of you. Okay, so that is my little wrap up on what to expect for open house on the Northeastern side. I'm going to transition over to Amy. She's going to dive into all things Unibuddy, how you guys will run your events. And if you have any questions regarding anything we just talked about, I will open it up at the end for questions about everything.
Thank you so much, Erin. I just tried to share my screen, but I don't think I have screen sharing ability. You might need to just enable me on the security. I think it's the access.
There you go. You should be able to now.
Let's have a look. Perfect. Awesome. Right. Let me just jump into this. So I'm just going to elaborate a bit on what Erin was explaining. She's done a great job of really clearly explaining how this event is going to work and the different types of user that can take part in these Unibuddy virtual events. I'm just going to run through a couple of concise, quick slides just to dig a bit deeper into some of the details. And then I'm going to jump into a demo event that we have running, which simulates what your live events will look like. So as Erin mentioned, each of you will be joining your own unique kind of specific events. And some of you will have the opportunity to stream and some of you will be chatting. So I think the easiest way is just to walk through that with you, identify the different components in the interface so that when you do log in and you do go in to start your session, there's no surprises in there and you know exactly what you're doing. So 4 kind of brief topics in this presentation today. One is about creating your profile. The second is about the user types. Third is some top tips. And then finally, there's going to be an event overview where I'm going to log into the demo and walk you through that together. So creating your profile, I know many of you will have already done this. There's probably only a few kind of outstanding who are left to accept the invitation and create their unique profile. But the process for this is really straightforward. So the most important thing to bear in mind is that you'll receive a unique invitation via email. And that's the only way that you can actually proceed to create your individual staff account. So if any of you have not yet received that, then I'm sure that you can reach out to Erin or reach out to us directly. But it's just important to bear in mind that is the only way you can create your profile. It comes through your inbox and it comes from Northeastern and it will look something like this, just a create staff option with the button to create my account. A couple of things to bear in mind when creating your staff profile. The first is always to remember to upload a good quality photo. The account creation tool won't let you finish your profile unless you have a photo. So that's just something to bear in mind. And you have the option to enter your department name. So just make sure that you're specifying which department you represent, which department you're from at Northeastern. Now, Erin touched upon this briefly in her presentation, but there are 2 distinct user types in Unibuddy live events. One of them is the presenter or video streamer, which is the person that presents slides, shares their screen, or who just drops in for a Q&A perhaps, or for a live kind of office hour with students where they can ask you questions and you can interact with them through your screen and through your video camera. The other is the chat participant, and this is the people who are just engaging students in conversation. So they're answering questions, they're starting discussions, they're sharing important bits of information about the program or about the student experience. And it's important to bear in mind that the presenters and video streamers can also interact in these channels as well once their stream is over. So within the chat, within your event, you'll have the option to pick up on any questions that perhaps you missed or that you didn't have time to answer during your live session when you were presenting. And just to clearly to give a clear example of how this looks when the event is live, you can see here that the streamer or the presenter will appear with their camera and their microphone. And on the left-hand side here, this is the chat. So each stream has an accompanying chat space where you can pick up questions and you can engage with people before and after your stream has taken place. And then the chat functionality is purely chat-based, so there's no video, no streaming. It's entirely conversation focused and chat focused. And you'll see here that as the university, you can respond directly to specific messages, and you'll have your individual staff profiles as well. So this will show up with your name and your photo and your unique role and department within the university. So just a few tips based on what we've seen to work really well across a number of different events and across the different roles. If you are just a chat participant, we'd recommend logging into the event before it actually starts, just to make sure your login credentials are all working correctly and that everything is in place for you to join the event and contribute in a really effective way. You can log in technically at any point before the event has started. It won't put you straight into the event, but it will just mean that you're set up as soon as it opens to start posting your messages and engaging with students. The other thing I'd recommend is to pre-draft your welcome message. So if you're a chat participant, you're going to be entering this event and you're going to be probably one of the first people to post in the channels and to generate conversation and engagement. So what we would recommend is perhaps pre-drafting a friendly kind of informal welcome message, something to kick off the conversation. It's just easy to have and nice to have that ready so that when the event goes live, you're ready to go and you can start engaging in conversation with students. And something else you can do within the chats is you can actually pin important messages. And this is a really handy tool if there are particular kind of announcements or little nuggets of information that are shared by your colleagues or by yourself. It could even just be a welcome message that's sort of setting the tone for the conversation. But you have the option to pin a number of messages to the side of the chat so that, you know, for students who perhaps are joining later or students who enter the chat after watching a stream, they can still pick up those key bits of information from the conversation, and you can make sure that that gets through to them clearly as well. And you can reply directly to individual messages that come through the chat. So if a student asks a specific question about their application or about housing or residences, for example, instead of just responding directly into the chat, you can actually respond directly to that message, similar to the kind of WhatsApp swipe reply. And that student will then be notified in the chat that they've received a response directly to them as well. And something else I should note, and Erin, maybe I should check this with you, is that you can have direct messaging enabled for some of the events. If that's activated, Erin, are you activating that?
Yes, certain people will have direct messages activated.
Awesome. So for some people, you'll also have the option to receive private DMs, and these will come from students. You know, sometimes there are questions they would rather ask privately, if they're about admissions or if they're about tuition, for example. They may feel more comfortable sharing information about their application or about those topics with you directly and dealing with them that way as well. And then the top tips for the presenters or video streamers. The first thing is to ensure that your stream is set up and ready, which is actually incredibly easy to do. And I'm going to walk you through that in just a second on our demo platform. But making sure that your microphone and your camera are all set up and you're in position really to start the stream. The second thing is to keep an eye on the live stream chat for questions. Often, especially if you're doing a kind of a Q&A session or if you're hosting an interactive presentation, it's likely that students will have questions and things that they want to ask you directly. And often they may just type these straight into the chat. So you have the option as a streamer to pick up on those and actually answer them live, which is really nice and really engaging for students because it makes them feel almost as if they're in the room with you, in the classroom with you at a real open house in person. And then thirdly, you can tell it's late in the day here in the UK, apologies. Thirdly, always remember to stop the stream when you're finished. This sounds like a really obvious thing, but it's important to actually stop the stream because somebody else may be streaming after you. And there's often a kind of agenda that the talks are following and the sessions are following. And so you certainly don't want to be left on camera afterwards, kind of eating your sandwich or WhatsApping or texting someone, thinking that the camera's actually off. because that could be a bit of a tricky situation. So keeping an eye on the stream agenda and making sure you actually press the stop stream button when you're finished, because that's the best way to keep to time and also make sure that there's no embarrassing slip-ups afterwards as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hop into a demo event. And I've got one, if I can move all of my various Zoom toolbars, got one up on here. So let me just shrink my camera. And so this is our demo video stream live event, which completely mirrors what the Northeastern events will look like. And so for many of you, this is what you'll see or something similar to this when you log in on the day. And I'm going to walk through each part of this event just to give you an idea of how it looks from the staff perspective, and then also how to set up your stream. So how to make sure that everything's ready for you to start streaming and answering questions in your event. So you'll see here that there's a live stream channel on the left here, and underneath there are a series of live feeds and then the direct messages. So this left-hand bar sort of mirrors Slack in some ways. If any of you are familiar with using Slack to communicate with one another at Northeastern, essentially each of these live feeds is a chat room or a forum where you have students interacting with each other, asking questions, and then the university or the staff member answering those as well. You can have up to 25 of these in each feed. And then underneath that, you'll see the direct messaging. So the account that I'm logged into has direct messaging enabled, which means that prospects can ask me questions privately, directly, and their messages show up on the bottom left-hand side here. On the live stream, this is the live stream channel or the live stream feed, and this is where the talks will be taking place throughout the course of the afternoon or the course of the day. You'll see here, this is the live stream agenda. So we have a series of talks, student living, which is a Q&A, and then also an admissions Q&A after that. And right next to that is the streaming chat. So in this streaming chat, this is where students can ask questions directly to the presenter. It's where they can interact with each other. And it's where they can also speak to other staff ambassadors and student ambassadors about their overall Northeastern experience. And what I'm going to do now is just walk you through the stream setup. So you see here that if we were a streamer or a presenter, there's a button here to start the stream setup. So this is what you'll be doing to configure your microphone and your audio if you're someone who's going to be presenting or doing a Q&A drop-in session. So you press the stream setup, and hopefully it doesn't cause a huge amount of echo. But you can see here that it's opened up on my face. And here it gives me the options in the same way that Zoom does when you set up Zoom or Google Hangouts or Skype, to choose my camera. So I have a FaceTime HD camera, and then I have two options of the microphone. So I'm going to go with the default microphone. As soon as I click save, my stream is essentially ready to go. So it's really as simple as that. And all you have to do is make sure that your microphone and camera is set up as you would like it. And you'll see here that my microphone is working because the indicator here is showing me that it's picking up on my voice. And once I'm ready, I can start streaming. And as soon as I press that, the stream will start and I'm live to the group. So I'll be able to see the messages coming through on the left here. I can see any comments from students or specific questions about my presentation. And then here is where I have tools that are very similar to Zoom, in the sense that I can screen share by pressing this button, and I can choose my entire screen, a window, or a particular tab on Chrome. And if I wanted to, I can also mute myself, although that would not be very productive or helpful during a live streaming event. Once I've finished my presentation, I can then stop the stream. And that's it, as simple as that. So you can really dip in and out of streaming. It can be as kind of casual or as organized and structured and scheduled as you like. I know that many of you will have, sessions specifically planned at certain times. But all that is required is to go in, test your camera and microphone, make sure that you can see yourself and that this indicator is capturing your voice in the microphone. Save, click start stream. And then if you want to stop the stream at any time or finish your presentation, you can press stop there as well. So I think there's some messages coming through on the chat. So I just want to make sure, I think Erin has been picking up on some of those.
Yes. Yeah, so a few, Amy, if you don't mind. So there are a few questions about setting a background. I don't believe that that is a function of Unibuddy's video sharing. Am I correct, Amy?
At the moment, yeah, we don't have kind of virtual backgrounds at the moment. It's just your usual background. Yeah, so I mean, we'd recommend obviously positioning yourself somewhere, whether it's in an office or if you're at home with, you know, quite a professional kind of clean setup to answer your questions. But we don't have kind of virtual backgrounds currently built into the platform. I can double check with the product team whether we support the Mac backgrounds, because I know that some people who use Mac, they have virtual backgrounds built in to the actual laptops. And if that's through through the Mac camera, then that may be absolutely fine. But I can double check that with the product team and let you know. But for the actual Unibuddy product, it's not something that's currently available.
Great. The other question that popped up is, and I just noticed this too, Amy, because you're sharing, a separate window pops up when you hit screen share. I don't think that that was projected onto Zoom. I don't know if there's a way to show the screen share again that will allow the that little pop-up window that comes up to show.
Ah, I see. Okay, so can you see the
No.
right, because it's only showing to me. Right.
So,
That's a rookie. Yeah. So I can, maybe I can take a screenshot and I can send this to you afterwards, which shows you exactly how this looks. But it looks exactly the same as when you share your screen on Zoom. So it pops up with the three options, the tab, the page, and then the tab, the page, and the window, and you choose one option and it will start sharing. But we have, sorry, go on, Erin.
I just want to say it's very similar to Teams. When you're sharing your screen, that little window pops up and it lets you select either a window or a screen. I'll make sure I take a screenshot because it isn't showing in this presentation, but there is a window that pops up when you hit share screen and you can select what you would like to project. Okay.
Sure. Yes, and we've got a tutorial video for setting these up as well, which walks through that stage. And I think that does include the pop-up window. I think because it's live, it's just not capturing that because you're not seeing my whole screen. But I can share that with you all afterwards as a follow-up, just to visualize what that process looks like. And something else I wanted to show was the actual pinning and responding to messages. So you see here, there's a few options for each message. And if we see that Sean, who's in the United Kingdom, he's a prospect and his question is about visas. So we have a few different options here. We can respond directly to his message. We can pin his message. We can delete his message, or we can remove him from the chat. This tool is used very, very rarely. There's very few situations where it's required, but it does give you autonomy in the conversations and in the events if you did need to remove somebody. If we wanted to reply directly, we would just press this button, and you'll see here it shows that we, so if I type a message, and we click send. And if we head to the bottom, you see that it appears very similarly to WhatsApp or an iMessage that's been directly replied to. And Sean will now get a notification that I've responded to his specific question. If we go into welcome as well, I can just show you on the right-hand side, these are the different tools that you have within the channel. So I mentioned that you can actually pin messages. So you can pin any of these messages. For example, this one, for example, this one, and these will stay here for the duration of the event. You can also add a channel description, and you can see a summary of who's actually in each channel. So this includes staff and student ambassadors, and how many prospective students are actually engaging with the channel as well. So 31 students currently following this chat feed. And if it's useful just to walk through the different user types as well, these are the prospects. So you just see their first name initial and the country that they've signed up from. For the university, so this is the administrator login. So Erin and a small selection of the Northeastern team will have this account. It will show up as Northeastern University, and it's a generic shared account that has overarching kind of control and oversight of the entire event. And then there are the student ambassadors who we can't actually see in this channel. Maybe there's some in here who have photos I realize we have no ambassadors talking in this demo event, which is a very difficult way to show you what they look like. But you can see the ambassadors here, which is how you will look, which is your name, your photo. And then if we click on this, it will have your full profile, so students can actually learn more about you and which department you represent as well. So I'm just double checking because I think maybe there was a couple more questions.
Yeah, so there are a few questions that pertain to like panels and and sharing and having two people present. So this was something that when we were working on the day, I expressed to a lot of the different like open house kickoff team. So what you would essentially have to do is do how Amy said. So you would start your presentation, maybe the first person starts their presentation, shares their screen, the next person would have to go after them. So it would be two different people. You can't have multiple people running an event at once or switching back and forth between slides. What we'd recommend doing is having basically just broken out topics of the day. So maybe somebody goes from 9 to 9:10, next person goes from 9:10 to 9:15, 9:15 to 9:30. So that is unfortunately how it exists right now. The platform is being worked on for future events to be able to have multiple people sharing at a time, but for right now and for this event, you'll have to kind of segment it out. And I do have some best practices and some guides on how to do that. So if that was something you were planning on doing, I can certainly walk you through that and how that would work. But your agenda can be broken up so your attendees are aware that you're kicking off the day with this topic at 9 o'clock. That person wraps up their presentation and then the next person goes. I see a few other chats coming in. Can you have two people share video? So if you are doing a panel, let's connect after. We can dive into that on our own. Do multiple people have permissions to share their screen with the same session though? So you would have, anyone who is added to the session will have permissions to share their screen. So if somebody is going after you, just have to hit share and bring up your slides that you're covering. Option to record a session online or locally. So we are recording some sessions. If that's something you're interested in, just let me know. I do have recording instructions that I can send your way. We also have an entire recording team for EM day of to help with recording.
I can see a question from Mary about the presenting. So if one person is presenting, can a second person be responding to the chat? Absolutely. And actually that's something we would recommend where possible. It can be really helpful having a colleague or someone from your team. It could even be a student ambassador from your program or from your area that you're representing, just sort of supervising the chat. And supervising and monitoring the questions that come in. And they can also highlight and field certain questions to you if it's quite a busy event and if there's lots of questions coming through. So yes, you can absolutely do that. A second person can be responding, and you can have as many people, as Erin said, assigned to the chat as you like, depending on how many you would like to be involved and how many are available as well.
Okay, any other, Amy, I'll let you wrap up if you have more things to talk about and more things to go through for the demo, and then we can really open it up into more questions.
Sure. So just to be clear, just to summarize, really, I think we've gone through the main components here, but obviously if you're a streamer, so someone who has been assigned to share your screen, to present, or to just drop in to do a Q&A, then you're the people that will see the option to set up your stream. If you're just somebody that's chatting and just someone that's assisting, you will not see that option. So there's a clear delineation in the roles. And so don't be alarmed if you do sign in and you don't see some of these tools or some of this configuration. The chances are it's because you're not delivering a session through video streaming and you're just assisting by chatting with the students and engaging in a written sense. To summarize, obviously, you come in here, you've got your chat feeds. These are just conversational where you can pin important messages. So anything that you want to highlight to students or key pieces of information, for example, a deadline, if there's an application deadline, or if there is a link or an important kind of part of the website that you want to share to do with residences or to do with a particular program, you could pin that message here as well. Really, it's any message that you deem to be high priority and of real importance to anyone in the session. And it's entirely up to you how many messages and which messages you pin there. And then some of you will be signed up for direct messaging. Just be mindful of that. Keep an eye on that, because these messages will be private messages that are just between you and the prospective students. In the live feeds, all of the messages, all of the replies, all of the interaction is visible to everyone in that thread. So there are no options here for kind of private one-to-one communication. It's a forum style room. And all of the information that's shared will be visible to all of the students taking part. So I think that's everything. Hopefully that was clear enough and gives a good overview of how the platform works and how it functions and what it looks like. But obviously, if you have any other questions, please do let me know. I'm more than happy to answer as best I can and give some insights there.
Thanks, Amy. So yes, we definitely want to spend some time letting everyone ask the questions. You can either type them into the chat or pop on video and ask your questions. I will also be available via Teams from now until the event if you have any questions at all, and maybe you didn't think of it right in the moment, but I am available to help throughout this time. In the live feed, do we determine your own topics, the hashtags? So yes, that can be, if you're interested in having different breakout rooms and different topics, please send me a note and I'll build all those out for you, or send your like admissions team who's been working with you on the event a note, because we do have a pretty thorough spreadsheet on how we're building these out. So if you're interested in having the live feed chats and those breakout rooms with the hashtags, certainly let us know and I will make sure those are listed for you. Would you dissuade having multiple presenters due to the technical complications? In other words, recommend a format for one person to present? Yes, that was definitely something that when we were planning the event that we did recommend. So if you are a host and you planned on having multiple presenters, you can either kind of break it down so everyone has their individual topics and individual slides, and we can kind of go from, like I said before, 9 a.m. to 9:10 and break it down that way. I know a few colleges are doing that for some of their sessions. But yes, we definitely want to make sure that there's kind of one person manning it at a time in terms of what's being live streamed. And then maybe having your support staff chime in on the chat, covering the incoming messages. And then when it's their turn to kind of run their slides, they can present after you've stopped sharing.
I think there's one here, and that probably I'm best placed to answer, which is about support on the day and technical assistance. So on the Unibuddy side of things, absolutely. Our support team, so myself and also some members of the product team, will be available and contactable on the day if you are having issues accessing your account or getting into the event for whatever reason. There are a couple of different ways you can contact us, and I will kind of sum these up to Erin directly so she can share the links. We have a live chat through Zendesk, and we also have an email, support@unibuddy.com, which we monitor daily. So there are two kind of clear options, and Erin and I will also be in direct communication throughout the event. So we'll be very much available, very much ready to assist you with any potential challenges or any hiccups or obstacles that you're facing on the day.
And just to second that, we do have a thorough plan and a team in place to kind of help triage if you do have questions. You will have a main point of contact that works for Northeastern, who will be in contact with myself and Amy. So if you don't want to like go through the email and submit a ticket, you can absolutely find myself or your marketing point of contact, and they will get your questions over to the Unibuddy team. The only channel of communication participants is the chat room. Yes, so participants are only chatting with us for this virtual event. They don't have the ability to share their voice in terms of just like speaking directly to you aloud or sharing their video. So any way they're going to be communicating with you that day is via chat.
And just to add to that, I'd say that obviously there are two slightly different chat options for students. There's the chat space in parallel with the live stream. So when someone is presenting, there's that space for them to ask questions. And then if you do create any additional live feeds, as Erin was saying, they can also chat in there as well.
Are there any other questions? We'd really love to answer anything or clarify anything if you're maybe confused about something. I know this is a lot to take in within an hour. Okay, let's see. Can both presenters in a session speak or respond to questions about different programs, or can only one be on the mic at a time? So yes, only one can be on the mic at a time. You can both be responding to chats at the same time, whether that be in that main feed that Amy was talking about, or if you'd like to break up your sessions into those breakout rooms and those live feeds. But yes, only one person can own speaking at a time.
I can see this question from Michelle, which is the information we place on the staff account about ourselves what appears in the bio when applicants click on our photo? Yes, absolutely. So essentially what happens in the live event is it just pulls through your profile information. So all the information that you've put in when you created your account will appear when students click on you, so they can find out a bit more about you, you know, your areas of expertise or specialisms. It's the same piece of text that you put in yourself. So one thing to bear in mind is if there is anything you wanted to add in preparation for the event, for being part of that, you can go in and edit your profile at any time, add in any information that you think would be useful, maybe particularly relevant to people attending the open house. If not, it will pull through the exact blurb from your profile.
And Amy, if you'd like to handle this one, or I can as well, the video stream, you can actually respond to chats while you're streaming. There's nothing really stopping you from answering questions either aloud or responding via chat while you're streaming simultaneously. But if you do stop the stream, the chat will remain there.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Seconded.
Anyone else? Again, we have other resources available aside from this training, like a demo video that Amy was speaking about. I also have a written training on exact step-by-steps on how to launch your event, what that sharing screen looks like, how to select your window. I have all of that written up and ready for you. And of course, like I said before, I'm always available from now until the event, completely dedicated to open house to answer your questions. So if there's nothing left for the day, we can wrap up, and I will obviously be available for you to follow up with. Okay.
Erin, can I ask a question?
Sure.
And I'm going to do it verbally because I don't want to wait. Just by way of format, in how it's going to all come. I mean, the presentation, by the way, both you and Amy, fantastic. Thank you so much. It really makes people like me feel more comfortable in what in what's going to be happening and how we're going to conduct this presentation. But by way of format, let's assume we come on a few minutes early. I'll be on twice, for instance, on that particular day, morning and afternoon. I come on 5-10 minutes early. Then the 9 o'clock session begins. The presentation that I have is maybe about 20 minutes at most, with interactive. If they want to ask in the meantime, I'll stop and answer. We're given about, I think, an hour and a half, I can't remember. But once we're finished, and let's assume answers have been provided, if there's nothing else happening at that moment, what do you recommend? Do we just wait for people to come in? If they're coming in and out, how do you recommend we format our presentation, presence, I guess, if you will?
Yeah, so I think this is where you can really utilize the chat to set that expectation. After you wrap up your presentation and maybe you're on for another 15-20 minutes or so, just answering some questions, whether that be verbally or via chat. If you know that you don't have another presentation for a couple of hours, what you can do is leave a note that says, like, I'm here to answer your questions via chat, or I'll be back at X time for the afternoon session. Like I said at the very beginning, if when I was showing you that agenda, if you don't have any presentation happening from, let's say, 10 to 12, there will be that break noted in your agenda. So attendees can really understand what's happening. So they log in at 10:01 and you had just wrapped up presenting, as long as you're kind of clear, wrapping up the day with a message, something that the ambassadors do when they're running live events that have multiple sessions throughout a day is just say in the chat, I'll be back at noon to present again, or I'll be back at 1 to answer more of your questions, talk to you then. As long as you're setting that expectation, I think we're in the clear. If you need to step away for a longer amount of time, and we all from EM, of course, will be monitoring all the sessions all day, popping in and out, making sure questions are answered. If we need to assign somebody while you're not presenting to kind of hop in there and help answer some questions, we will do that.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you so much. Would it be okay if we left the first slide of our presentation, welcome, open house, and then if we stay there, and put a chat note saying that I'm available to, if you're here, if you come, ask me any questions you want, and just simply be available for the next hour and a half after I finish the last person. Is that okay?
Be in there all day. We didn't want to leave the expectation we didn't want to make anyone feel that they had to sit there for 6 hours. So that's kind of why we only asked for 2 windows of your time. But if you're having a lot of volume and you're having a lot of attendees come your way and ask questions, you can absolutely just hang out and chat with them. There's nothing stopping you. That window is going to be open all day. If you would like to kind of break it out into an agenda just so your attendees are clear and again, that expectation is set, you can do that. But the room itself that you'll be in will be open all day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, both of you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. What's the earliest time we can test the system? So what will happen before you even get your exact access to your room, I'm going to be sending out little test links for everyone to use based on your college. That way everyone can kind of spend some time clicking around and seeing if it works. But you can get in there pretty early if you're the host, correct, Amy? So you can get in and start before your attendees would.
Correct. You should be able to join and get set up. I'll double check with our product team just to be 100% sure, but you can log into the event, in advance of it actually launching. So you go into the landing page that way.
Okay. Thank you for all of the questions. How far in advance? So from my experience running events, I can absolutely get in there and kind of start to play around ahead of time. I haven't seen an exact amount of time, but Amy said she would be checking. Again, I would recommend getting in there like 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes before your event if you didn't get a chance to play around with the test session and you want to feel just a little bit more confident, but that's obviously up to you. Your attendees can't get in there and can't access the event until your first start time. So if your first start time was at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., they won't be able to access it until that time. But once 10 o'clock hits, the room will open and any attendee who clicks on your link will be able to see anything that's happening and see either you or your presentation or other chats. Somebody says right now, you don't have your page right now. So once you do get all of your access links, you can certainly click into it, but no one has those yet. When will test sessions be available? I will get those out to everyone this week, so you have plenty of time to play around with it. If you're waiting, is there a waiting room like Zoom? So yes, so there is a waiting room. Like I said, the attendees can't access the room until that countdown ticker hits 9 o'clock. So if the event, let's say because open house starts at 8 a.m., your first session starts at 9, they won't be able to enter that room that you're presenting in until 9 o'clock. And yes, you will be able to see how many people are contributing to your session. Basically on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see students chatting now. Those are people who are actively chatting back and forth with you. I don't know, Amy, if you can maybe bring that back up if you have that example. But at the end of the event, we do have a lot of comprehensive data that comes out of these events. We can see what person attended maybe X, Y, or Z event. They can attend many. So we'll have a list of all of the events an attendee sat in on. We also are able to see the data in which did they talk to you? Did they chat? So all that information will be provided after the event.
Yeah, Erin, I can just quickly, let me just hop back on and show this to you real quick. Here we go.
While you're doing that, I had another question that privately came in that I think is really great. You won't need to let them in. It's not like the waiting room for Zoom where you need to let them in. They just won't have access until your start time. So they'll automatically get in at your start time.
Awesome. So if we just hop in so for the main feed, you can actually see during the event, you can see how many students are actually following each of the feeds live. But after the event as well, if I just go back to the dashboard, here we go. So this is what the administrators can see. It's the back end of Unibuddy. If we go into live events, and then if we go to, let's say, a past event, for example, this is going to take a while to load because there's many, many, many events in here. We're able to see a rundown of the key attendance data, basically, and also per channel. And this information, as Erin said, can be used, especially when you're kind of tailoring your follow-ups and when you're trying to work out, okay, well, what did work really well, maybe what could be built on for the future. So you see here for the data, you get a summary sheet at the end of the event, including the attendees, the new registrants, the participants, so people that sent a message, and then the popularity of the different feeds and the different channels as well as the countries as well, and a breakdown of that also. So there's quite comprehensive data, and what we're going to do for Northeastern is actually dig even further with this and dig deeper and provide a really comprehensive analysis for each of the sessions, which hopefully should provide some really useful insights and help you with your planning for your next event, and also with your analysis of this event and how successful it was for you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so if there are any questions, feel free to ask in the next couple of minutes. Otherwise, we will be in touch with all of the information, like those sheets, the FAQ sheets, the training documents. You'll get all of that before the end of the week this week, along with those task sessions if you'd like to pop in. But if you haven't set up your profile yet, please do so. We need you to set up your profiles in order to build out your sessions. So please do that. And if you didn't receive an invitation to Unibuddy, please let me know and I will resend by the end of the day. Can we know ahead of time the number who are specifically coming for your major? So we have all of the registrants broken down by their latest program of interest. So when they fill out the form to register for open house, they select a program of interest. They don't register for your specific session, they just register for the event in general. So we do have that information available, and I can send that out before the end of the week as well, and especially right before the event, so you can get a better gauge on how many registrants you have for your program. Okay, so please look out for me sending you a lot of stuff. But again, happy to be there and support you, answer any of your questions. Just feel free to reach out to me on Teams or email, whatever works. And I talk to Amy every day. So if you have any questions for Unibuddy or the platform, let me know and I will send it her way. Okay, I see a few other chats come in privately. I will answer you before I hit stop, so stay tuned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you all and looking forward to seeing this event when it goes live.